Hello and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host Rob. In today's video, we're going to return to my Saltmarsh series, although this video is going to be a summary of about 4 game sessions. Usually I do 2, but we had a lot of combat and less role play, so there's, less to report on. But the first couple sessions were, I guess, a one-shot that lasted 2 weeks, a 2-shot, I guess we'll call it. And the next couple weeks have been Temple of Elemental Evil. So I don't even know if I can call it Saltmarsh anymore, but it is those characters, so we're just going to keep going with the series. This is going to end up being like a 40-part series or something ridiculously long, but whatever, who cares? Anyways, so we were about to start the dungeon last time, but then it turned out the player who plays our cleric, Trish, she wasn't able to make it that game. So the DM decided, well, I got some stuff that's probably going to involve the cleric coming up, so I've got this cool one-shot from some third-party book that I think Jaden bought him for Christmas. And he's like, I'm just going to run one of the adventures out of that. And so we end up getting chosen by some little baby sphinx, which is super cute. And it takes us to the plane of Valhalla, where we're supposed to compete in this like amazing race / battle royale type game where we have to compete against these 4 other teams. And whichever team wins, that baby sphinx gets to ascend and become this like powerful sphinx. And the other ones all get killed, of course, because, what else would you do with them, right? Anyways, so we get chosen by our sphinx. And what was its name? I can't remember. Anyways, baby sphinx. And we had to compete in this, like I said, like amazing race type of thing. And since it's in Valhalla, if you die, you just get resurrected again the next day at dawn. So death isn't really a limiting factor. However, the more deaths your team has, the more that does hinder you because you're just less able to overcome some of the obstacles that, kind of require your team. And of course, if you all wipe, well, now you got to wait till the next day to respawn, and now you're a day behind. So, not great. Anyways, a couple of the other teams were making fun of us because our team were all mortals, and most of them were, I don't know, immortal spirits and stuff. There was a team of tiefling things. They were the favorites to win. But in typical player fashion, we found out that the odds of us winning were 100 to 1 against. And so several of us decided to put some money on the party to win. I, sadly, only wagered 20 gold pieces because I think that's all I had at the time. And so when we inevitably win, spoiler alert, I only got 2,000 gold. One of the players put down 100 though, and needless to say, they came out quite well. Oh, what a terrible mistake. If you're a DM, 10 to 1 odds are already bad enough. 100 to 1, pushing things. Anyways, so we have to go through a series of trials and events and stuff. And I basically remember that we were in like one starting area and we were near this team of dwarves. And as soon as the event started, the dwarves decided to just come after us. So we ended up getting to a big fight with the dwarves immediately. And one of them he gets to go first because he rolled the highest on his initiative. I had like a 23 or a 24 or something. Still wasn't good enough. Anyways, maybe it was a 21. I can't remember. It was north of 20 anyways. So anyways, the dwarf comes in, he starts attacking, and but I go next. So I cast web on the remaining dwarves. All of them fail their saving throw. I'm like, yes, perfect. Turns out, though, that these dwarves are all some kind of weird barbarian, and when they rage, they actually, ignite on fire and burn. So they immediately burned through my web, which did absolutely nothing, it turns out. Didn't even do any fire damage to them because I think they're immune, or maybe they're resistant. Didn't matter. Either way, you know what I'm saying. Very disappointing. So I'm like, well, that was a total waste. But anyway, so the dwarves come to attack. We end up having our big fight with the dwarves. They kill the cleric, our cleric, but we managed to kill the rest of the dwarves. So now we're forced to go on without the cleric until the next day when she'll be resurrected again at dawn. We have to sneak through some sort of fire giant sauna, essentially. Fortunately, the fire giants are not really looking for us, so we managed to get through. Even our fighter in full plate mail, rolling with disadvantage. Oh, we had we had advantage because of all the steam and fog and mist and stuff. So he rolled normally and did quite well. The rest of us got through no problem. And I think we had a couple more trials we had to overcome. Anyway, eventually we get to this one where we have to take this step of faith or whatever it was. So the first guy decides that he's just going to jump off the edge and falls to his death, of course. And the next guy's like, well, I'm going to like be praying to my God while I like run towards the edge. So he runs and also jumps off the edge and dies. And I'm like, well, it did say a step of faith, not a leap of faith. So I'm just going to walk off the edge normally, and while praying to Pelor, God of the sun, and sure enough, it worked fine. So now I'm the only remaining party member as I trudge on by myself for the remainder of the day. I do get to another obstacle, and I had to solve some sort of riddle. I got the riddle wrong and was, of course, instantly killed by lightning. So T was off to a great start. I think by the time we completed the first leg of the race, we'd had 11 combined deaths. So some of our puzzle and problem solving was not a task. In any event, we eventually get to this one where we had to solve some sort of riddle with obelisk and a ceiling that would crush us. And most of us died from that as well, but one player managed to succeed. And so they managed to, I think it was the cleric actually, back from the dead. And the cleric manages to get to the marker, so we complete the first leg of the race in second last place, because the people behind us are the dwarves. Well, that's what you get for messing with us. Anyway, not looking great so far. We're in second last. But we do get to choose some like rewards. Unfortunately, it turned out these rewards were not permanently bestowed on the party, which sucks. We were told we could either choose one each from the first room, or we could choose two from the first room and one reward from the second room. We decided to go for that. The DM tried to point out that there are 4 party members, and that's meant somebody wouldn't get an item. But we're like, well, Cleric's not here this week. Guess she doesn't get an item. So it turned out, though, that one of the items we got was an instant fortress, because I took a figurine of like a house, and the one guy's like, it's going to be a house. I'm like, it's going to be an instant fortress. So sure enough, instant fortress. I love that item. And we also had a belt we saw, and I told the fighter, I'm like, this is the item from the good room. It's going to be a belt of giant strength. Sure enough, it's a belt of fire giant strength. So we're feeling real excited. Our last item, the rogue, got a cloak of invisibility. So we're pretty happy with our items. We're like, sure, some of the other teams all got to pick ahead of us, but we got some pretty good items here. We're pretty excited. So then we go into the next stage of the race. We don't do great, but then we get to like the final round, which is basically like the battle royale, right? And depending on where you were positioned in the race, you get like better or less favorable starting areas, essentially is how it worked out, right? So we are still holding steady at second last. So we get the second worst starting area. The tieflings immediately fly over and they start fighting this group of paladins, and we're like, oh, thank goodness, we did not want to fight an entire group of paladins just smiting us all day. That was going to be brutal. So let's let those two groups kill each other. And we ended up going, oh yeah, no, there was a group of wizards as well. And the wizards ended up fighting some group of dragonborn sorcerers and wizards. And I was like, yeah, I do not have enough spell slots of counterspell to fight an entire group of them either. So that's also another group that can just happily kill themselves off. So we ended up having to fight I think it was the remainder of the paladins, but a lot of them died. Oh, it was the paladins versus the dragonborn, and the tieflings fought the dwarves. That's right, because the tieflings just mopped the floor with the dwarves, unfortunately. So then we had to fight the last few remaining paladins. Fortunately, half of them are dead, so we managed to clear them off. But while we're in the fight still, and things are a little touch and go at one point, the tieflings all come flying over, because apparently these tieflings can fly, and they start hammering us from the sky with spells and with arrows and stuff. And they're just hitting both teams. They do not care, right? They're not just picking on us. But I decide this is a good time to use my instant fortress, and then we can take shelter inside the fortress. So, of course, I crush one of the paladins with the instant fortress. I mean, why wouldn't you? So I throw that out, deploy it. Boom! One of the paladins gets hit and fails a saving throw. One of them got hit and made a saving throw and still took a whole bunch of damage, but lived. And having finished off them with the instant fortress, we decided to run into the fortress. Oh, but this last leg of the combat is in limbo. We're no longer in Valhalla. I think it was 3 different planes of existence altogether. Anyway, so now we're in limbo. And somehow the tieflings are able to use their combined will to warp the chaos of my instant fortress and turn the entire side into mud. So taking shelter in the fortress was only partly successful. However, it did mean that they couldn't just stay up above us because they turned to one wall. So they had to like maneuver around so they could shoot at us through the wall, right? And these guys had ridiculously good saving throws. But I decided in a fit of hopeless optimism that I was going to try casting web on them because they were all kind of bunched up and they're all flying. And I'm like, maybe I can get them onto the ground. Well, it turned out that like I think 3 of them failed the saving throws. It all came crashing down to earth. So then the rest of the party, of course, like the refined gentlemen that they are, they all rushed forward and just started like just ganking these guys while they're laying on the ground, and they're just like beating on them and stabbing them, and the rogues just going to town on these guys. It's got advantage, and we're just trying to lock them down as much as we can. We end up killing all the tieflings. It was a pretty brutal fight as well. We almost lost a couple of party members. I think the cleric and the rogue each went down at one point in the fight. Of course, Ning Ning didn't. Ning Ning's awesome, so she was fine. No problems on my end. But eventually we win the fight. We were rewarded, and our Sphinx gets to ascend, and then she's supposed to kill all of her brothers and sisters, but we decide to be merciful, of course, because we aren't a bunch of murder hobos. Paul, that was a bit of a spoiler. And so we spare the rest of the Sphinxes. And turns out that we do not get to keep our magic items. No instant fortress and no belt of giant strength. Cloak of invisibility is good too, but man, the belt of giant strength on the Eldritch Knight, I was more excited for him than he was for himself, I think. I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. You've got action surge, you can have 3 attacks around at some point. You've got pull on mastery, so like imagine making 3 attacks around, eventually 4, but 3, and then using the butt end, and it's going to be glorious. You got plus 7 strength bonus. Like, just going to be great. And the DM probably heard me saying that and was like, no, I don't think so. So we lost our items, but we did get some other items that we rolled randomly, and I ended up getting a Sentinel Shield, and I was pretty happy with that, because don't forget, my Sorceress she has 2 levels of Hexblade Warlock at this point, so I can use medium armor and a shield. So now, because I took the alert feat, and I've got 16 dex, I now have a +8 to my initiative, and I roll with advantage. So needless to say, there's no way I'm going to be getting like 9s and 10s for my initiative, right? That's not going to happen. It's not like I'm going to roll double 1s on an initiative roll ever. I mean, come on, that'd be ridiculous. Nobody would ever do that. Anyways, continuing. So we managed to win the contest though, and we returned back to our own plane. And by now we've got the cleric with us, so we go into the dungeon. And for whatever reason, our Eldritch Knight, who is a Goliath, and speaks giant, overhears some of the guards speaking in giant. And so he decides to start yelling and causing a scene and challenging everybody in the dungeon. This was probably not a great plan. I'm just going to be honest. Not his finest moment. Well, actually, compared to some of his other moments, it's not his worst either, though. So anyways, we end up getting a fight with a hill giant and a couple trolls, and then some Eddens show up halfway through the fight. And it is brutal. It is a rough fight, especially because nobody in our party has any teamwork, apparently, and no one has ever heard of the concept of focus firing. It was ridiculous. The entire time, we're just spreading all this damage between all these trolls, which are just regenerating it all back again. And I was like, guys, like, pick a target, kill the target. And then at one point, after I kind of make a big deal about this, somebody gets mad at the fighter for wanting to just hit the guy closest to him and not wanting to run around to hit the other target that me and the rogue had damaged. And then they're causing a bunch of drama about it. I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, the fighter is the one exception to the rule. I've got range attacks. The rogue's using a hand crossbow. You've got range attacks. I'm like, the one guy who can't be running around everywhere is the fighter just eating opportunity attacks all day. He is the guy that we should actually be trying to help focus down whatever his target is, because we can just hit whoever we need to. And that turned into another big discussion. I don't know why. It seemed like a very simple concept to me, but whatever. Anyways, we end up managing to live, but we've barely started the dungeon. We've done like 2 rooms, and we've already basically run out of spell slots. So we decide, let's just leave. So we just peace out. We'll leave again. I ended up getting a helm of teleportation at some point too. Why did I get my helm of teleportation? Did I get the Saltmarsh shield and the Saltmarsh and the helm of teleportation from the Sphinxes? I think that's how it went actually. All right, so I have a helm of teleportation. So I also knew, if things go really bad, we can just group up on me, and I can use the helm, and we can teleport the heck out of here. So I wasn't super concerned about just a complete TPK, but I also don't want to, just out of game. I don't really want to abuse that too much, or else my DM will probably, exact vengeance on me, because I've seen that pattern before. It's the kind of thing you have to break out only in an absolute emergency, and then hope that he just forgets about it and you never mention it again, in case you have another absolute emergency. Anyways, so we just decide we're just going to leave the dungeon. We close the big giant doors up again, and we bar them again, and we just go out back to the inn and take a long rest. So then we come back a day or 2 later, and now things have, they were on high alert, but now they're on medium alert, right? So it's a little better for us. Anyway, we go into the dungeon. We start trying to be a little stealthier this time. We once again get in a fight with 4 trolls. I'm trying to use Hunger of Hadar on them because now I've got Repelling Blast, right? But Hunger of Hadar isn't bad. Oh, there was one point when the cleric used Sleet Storm on top of my Hunger of Hadar area, and that was great because anytime they try to move, they had to make a dex save. And so now they've the difficult terrain, both cause difficult terrain, obviously doesn't stack, right? But the fact that they're in difficult terrain, and now whenever they're entering it, say they get pushed from Eldritch Blast or Repelling Blast, or if they just start their turn there and they try to move out, they keep having to make dex saves, and trolls aren't exactly known for their high dexterity, and so a bunch of them would fall and just take the acid damage, which is really what I was looking for, because I was like, I don't really want to be firebolting a bunch of stuff. I have Scorching Ray, but do I really want to be using all my spell slots on that? Probably not, And I was like, if I can just damage a bunch of them, keep renewing that damage, that's what I want to try to do, right? So we're trying to keep a couple of them pushed in. It's kind of going so-so. Eventually, we learned the value of teamwork and decided to focus fire, and we cleared all the trolls, though. We start pressing deeper into the dungeon. We end up fighting. We find there's 3 hill giants in this room. So that fight starts, but one of the hill giants, instead of attacking us, this hill giant decides to run over into the corner, and they seem to be, not willing to fight us. So we're like, okay, well, whatever, that's one less to fight, right? So we kill the first one, and all of a sudden the hill giant in the corner starts to change shape or something, right? But then we cast Fear on the one hill giant, and it turns around and starts running into the same corner. So then the other one decides to stop doing that and just goes back to being a hill giant again. So we end up killing the feared one, and the other one's got their hands up and they're trying to talk to us in common. So turns out this is a druid who's shape changed or whatever, right? And she is trying to infiltrate the giants and figure out what's going on, because this place is an evil temple run by cultists of Asmodean or Asmodeus, and they're sealing something in here that apparently the cultists of Ayaz want, who were supposedly working. We're still working for the evil cultists. I don't even know anymore. So again, it's evil cult versus evil cult, with us caught in the middle, serving one evil cult while complaining about both, but we're no better, as Paul's about to demonstrate. Murder hobo Paul. Anyway, so we tell her, okay, fine, let's work together. You can, but she doesn't want to come with us, so she just wants to keep doing her thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I've got sending. I can always talk to her later if I need to, right? I don't think there's ever been a campaign where sending's been cast more than this one. Mostly just to troll Jaden at this point. Anyways, fighter guy. Anyways, so we go deeper in the dungeon. We end up finding this like really ornate bedroom. It's really fancy. And there's this giant like canopy 4-poster bed thing, right? And this room was behind like a whole bunch of locked and trapped secret doors and stuff. So we're just like, okay, well, there's got to be something in here. So the rogue decides, this is Paul, the Kinku rogue, he decides that he's going to go over to the bed and examine the bed. And well, the rest of us are still looking in the room, right? And because we've got these curtains up all around the bed, nobody can see what Paul's doing. So Paul like opens the curtains and goes in, and he sees a girl sleeping in the bed. And then he decides to murder her in her sleep in cold blood. Now, Paul's defense was that, well, I'm chaotic neutral, and, she's in here with a bunch of devil worshippers, so she's probably bad. Turns out she's like some poor slave girl that's been held captive by the high priest here. So, murder hobo, I guess we are. Anyways, Paul murders the poor defensive slave girl in her sleep. Very noble and heroic. The rest of us are like, oh, we also lose the cleric, by the way. The player playing the cleric decided she didn't want to play a cleric anymore. She now wants to play a bard. So the DM just decided to have her cleric get crushed by a hill giant, and no saving throw. And I'm like, wait, silvery barbs. And he's like, no, it's a narrative thing. I'm like, fine, okay, whatever. So then we meet the bard. So we no longer have revivify. I guess that's the point I'm trying to get to. So we can't even resurrect poor dead slave girl, even if we wanted to, which I did want to because I'm a good person. Anyways, so we don't have the cleric anymore. We now have a bard. Or do we? That could be another spoiler. Anyways, so we search the room. We find all these robes of different colors, and they've all got like the Asmodeus symbol on them, right? So we decide to disguise ourselves and put the robes on, right? And then we go deeper in, and we find this room, and there's like 9 bugbears and 6 Eden, I think is what it was. Or maybe it was 6 trolls. I can't remember. I think it was Eden. And we're like, okay, it's a good thing we're in the robe. So the one guy who speaks giant decides to speak to them all. Of course, that's the fighter with a -1 charisma bonus. But he rolls like a 19 or something. We don't have guidance anymore either because we don't have a cleric. So he rolls like a 19 or something, though, and manages to pass his deception roll against all odds and convinces them that, oh no, they were ogres. That's what they were. Oh my goodness, how could I forget? So he convinces them that there's intruders in the dungeon and they need to like find the intruders and that we're going to go inform the high priest, right? So we don't know where to go though. So I tell him telepathically, because I'm an average mind sorcerer, and I'm like, okay, well, tell them we need to like take 3 of the bugbears or something with us. And so he decides to take 3 of the ogres with us. That way, if we need to fight them, we can get rid of 3 of the stronger fighters, right? Which kind of makes sense. So they decide to lead us deeper into the dungeon, and they take us to the high priest's room, which is also filled with monsters, including a couple of barbed devils, and a couple more trolls, a whole bunch of bugbears, and of course the high priest is not fooled by our disguises, because those are his robes we're wearing. And so he, of course, immediately realizes what we're doing, and the gig is up. And now we get into a massive fight with like 8 or 9 bugbears, the trolls, the barbed devils, the high priest, and of course, the 3 ogres that we thought we'd bring along with us for protection, who are now just another obstacle for us to have to fight, and are standing behind us in the hallway, so we can't even run. This fight, like just looking at it mathematically, I'm like, this could be a helmet teleportation moment, because we are in big trouble. But what I hadn't counted on was the rogue, because the item the rogue got when I got the helmet teleportation, he had a Horn of Valhalla. And so when it was the rogue's action, Horn of Valhalla time, and he summons up these 11 berserker warriors, and this was the TSN turning point of the match, I tell you. It looked for sure like we were going to, even with the 11 warriors, it was kind of touch and go for a while. I took a truckload of damage. The fighter took a whole bunch of damage. But eventually we managed to like kill everybody around us and then deploy our Vikings to form the shield wall and protect us, of course, you know. And the high priest, he ends up trying to cast a couple spells on us, but I'm just like, counter spell. And then the next round he casts like wall of fire right through the entire middle, including his own group. And I'm like, counter spell. And I'm like, oh, Joan, you got to make a roll for that? I'm like, okay, I do. So I grab my D20, which has been rolling nothing but 1s and 2s all night. 15. I'm like, yes, counter to wall of fire. Party doesn't die instantly because that probably would have killed. Well, I would have lived, of course, because anything's awesome and I have absorb elements, you know. But everyone else, they probably would have died. You know, I can only do so much, guys. I would have probably teleported out, though, with their charred corpses and tried to get them resurrected. But fortunately, I didn't have to because I successfully counterspelled another spell. So meanwhile, I'm like, okay, I need every round of my bonus actions, I'm just like converting like sorcery points into 3rd level spell slots so I can counterspell more things, or converting my low level spell slots into sorcery points so that the next round I can convert those sorcery points into another 3rd level spell slot and counterspell something else. And it is not going great. The Bard casts Hypnotic Pattern, hits like almost everything. Guess how many things missed their saving throws, though? 3. 3 creatures out of like the 10 or 11 that she hits. But one of them, against all odds, who is proficient on wisdom saving throws and has a high wisdom score, is the high priest, who rolls a 1 on a saving throw. And, you know, we're not using a DM screen here, right? So the DM's just like 18, 17, 20, 18, 17. Oh, the Barb Devils have magic resistance. Oh, look at that. They made it. Oh, look at that. That one made it too. High priest. We're like, yes, at least we got him now. We don't have to worry about counterspelling. I'm running out of spell slots. But now they're finally bunched up enough that she's like able to hit everything, right? Our Vikings are killing the freaking ogres behind us. They're just hacking away and just taking a beating because they're all using reckless attack, right? So they're doing a lot of damage and they are taking a lot of damage. But that's their purpose. It's fine. They'll just go back to Valhalla again. We probably even met them there earlier. I think that's where we got the horn from. So, I mean, come on. Anyways, this ends up being the big moment. So, of course, the priest, realizing that things are not going quite the way he wanted, especially when the second Barb Devil dies, he decides that discretion is the better part of valor. And he reveals a secret door behind his altar by opening up and running through it. So we managed to survive the fight, but we are pretty much gassed. Party's half dead. And the Eldritch Knight is still a little upset that I didn't let him run after the high priest. I'm like, what if he just ran into another room full of like giants or something? I'm like, then what are you going to do? I'm like, keep the party together. It's just safer and better. We can hunt him down again later. Of course, if we take a short rest, we can get a bunch of our stuff back, but then we lose our Vikings. So, yeah, that one's kind of iffy. I do, though, have a Bloodwell Vial. So if I take a short rest, I should be able to regain all my sorcery points. So that's pretty good. I've only got 5 sorcery points, right? Because I've only got 5 levels of sorcerer. And I could even do something like convert some of my sorcery points. I think I have 2 sorcery points left. I could convert those into a 1st level spell slot. Then get all my sorcery points back. Yeah. Oh, sorcerer. It's so much fun. Anyway, so that's where we left off. We survived our giant fight, barely, with the help of 11 Berserker warriors from Valhalla. And we still barely made it out. Due to our own stupidity, mostly, of course. Like, this isn't the DM's fault. We're like, hey, let's take some guys with us. And I'm like, yeah, take 3 of the bugbears. And the Eldritch Knight's like, let's take 3 of the ogres. And I'm like, yeah, good thinking, Eldritch Knight. Good thinking, fighter guy. Always let the fighter do it. Actually, he's an Eldritch Knight. He's actually the smartest guy in the party. So I shouldn't say that. I was going to say maybe letting the fighter and barbarian do all the planning isn't the best of ideas, but in our party it is. So, we don't have a barbarian. So, yeah. But anyways, so that is where things ended. I am getting the feeling, though, that whatever's trapped in the middle of this dungeon, I don't think we want to be releasing it. I mean, it was sealed away by like Tensor and Rary and all those guys. You know, all the guys with spells named after them. They're the ones who did this. So we might not want to undo it. Also, because of the fact that we're currently working for the Quartermasters of Ayaz, who of course are cult worshipping some chaotic evil demon guy, that's probably not a good sign that they've sent us in here to free whatever in the middle or to retrieve it. They made it sound like it's an artifact, so maybe it is, but I'm starting to think maybe it's Ayaz himself. Although in the world of Greyhawk, Ayaz does have like his own country that he rules, but who knows? Maybe our DM is changing things up, right? Nothing wrong with that. Because I don't think it's Cultists of Asmodeus in the dungeon normally either. So, you know, I think he's just changing stuff to fit the story, right? Changing it to fit his campaign. But then, like I said, we also have all these lawful evil cultists. So I don't really like them being around either. Either way, hopefully we just kill all the evil and then bring back the original Temple of Cuthbert people. I mean, they're all dead, but, you know, a new generation of Temple of Cuthbert and re-sanctify the place. That's kind of my game plan. Hopefully I can convince the rest of my party. But, you know, who knows? At this rate, Paul might go out and murder all the priests of St. Cuthbert in their sleep. Who knows? Anyways, that's everything we have from this adventure so far. I will make more videos continuing the story. Like I said, I know these videos aren't super popular, but I kind of like making them. And sometimes it's fun to like go back and watch my old campaign videos like a few years later and just be like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. Oh yeah, I remember this thing that happened. Totally forgot about that, you know? So it's just kind of fun. Anyways, that's everything. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. And leave me your comments in the comments section. Anyways, that's everything, and I'll see you next time. Bye.